Onto this story now. ANC Gauteng MPLs are expected to vote in support of Panyaza Lesufi as the new Premier. David Makhura announced his resignation as Premier and member of the legislature. While he wanted to finish his term, he said that if the ANC asked him to step down, he would. There have been reports of a PEC decision to recall him. We've got eNCA's Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who's watching developments around the story and joins us live. A very good morning to you, Pule. And of course, as I've mentioned in my intro, it is widely expected that the Premier to take office in the province of Gauteng is expected to be Panyaza Lesufi, and there's no indication that there'll be any contestant to that.
Yeah, definitely. Those are some of the discussions that are being had. Even now, we understand that there is an ANC provincial caucus meeting that's currently in place. We are expected to be briefed as to what are some of the things that are going forward in terms of the decisions that will be taken by the ANC's PEC in the province. All of this comes just just hours after the former Premier David Makhura decided to resign, and we understand just after that move yesterday there was an urgent PEC meeting that convened to try and bring up some of the MPLs from the ANC caucus in Gauteng up to speed with the details. Of course, there's also the talk around the provincial cabinet reshuffle as well, as to which MECs will be now deployed to other portfolios and which other MECs will, of course, be out from their posts. It is quite interesting from some of those developments coming from the PEC sitting as well. The ANC coming in now will be detailing as to how do they pave that forward. One must also note that Makhura's resignation comes just a few hours, of course, and days after the opposition party such as the DA were, of course, wanting to table the motion of no confidence against him.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Pule. And of course, it comes at a very critical time in the country where we are seeing coalition governments fall apart in different parts of the province. So sustainable and really efficient leadership is going to be needed in this particular situation. Have you heard anything about who will be taking over as MEC for education in the department in the province following the Premier taking on his new role?
Well, that's a discussion subject to the PEC sittings that have convened. We are perhaps waiting to get a brief as to what will be the decision taken out there. But like I've said, the provincial cabinet reconfiguration is something that was being discussed during yesterday's urgent PEC meeting. So those are some hotly matters that will be discussed and that may have a way forward in terms of who then takes that post. This media briefing here will be essential in the fact that it will pave way in terms of some of the the meetings that have been had by the PEC of the ANC in the province, and how will they be looking at resolving that issue in terms of filling that critical post. I mean, many of course had hailed the MEC for education in the province, Panyaza Lesufi, for the job and outstanding task that he's fulfilled, and they believe that it's a post that needs someone who is very competent and will be looking at prioritizing the needs of that department as well, which speaks to education in the province.
And that's absolutely true. A very important department to run there, Pule Letshwiti-Jones. And of course, we've had the new mayor, Dada Morero, indicating that one of the big things he's going to be fighting here is the issue of power cuts in the province or in the city of Johannesburg. And of course, one would anticipate that this would be at the top of the list of priorities that the new premier would also focus on, that being power cuts and water issues and other basic service delivery issues that residents of the province and in particular the city are facing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the hard thing is the provincial economic hub as well. So a lot of activities that's taking place here, speaking to business administration and the economy, are quite essential. And when you go to regional level in Johannesburg, you understand that, yes, it is true. The mayor, Dr. Morero, did say that the energy crisis is something they will be focusing on, and they will be introducing, of course, some of the policies that had implemented from 2016. They believe that those policies are still relevant, but they still a lot of political chaos in Johannesburg, where we see, of course, ousted DA, former mayor of Johannesburg, Pule Letshwiti-Jones, is still saying that she's still the mayor and still going to court to try and, reclaim the status of having to be mayor. So those are just some of the political infighting that's happening on the ground in Johannesburg. Residents, though, just want a leadership that can take the matters forward in terms of delivering service delivery. Quite a lot has been happening. You've seen with the water cuts that have been taking place in all three metros, Tshwane, Kuruleni and Johannesburg. There's still the issue of crime. There's still the issue of poor service delivery. So they just want leaders who can administer service delivery going forward. It will be important to hear what the chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng has to say in terms of speaking to prioritizing service delivery for the residents as well. Quite, important details that have to be discussed right now during this caucus meeting that's currently being taking place. And from here onwards, we'll be getting sort of like a picture of what is the way forward, what will happen next, and what are some of the plans they're looking to implement, especially just hours before we do understand that there's a special council sitting that's expected to take place, where hopefully Panyaza Lesufi will be sworn in as the Premier of the province.
So two important things to note there, Pule Letshwiti-Jones: the stability of leadership within the province, and really to see how far Mpopalate's bid to return to her seat as mayor of the city of Johannesburg will go. Thank you very much for that update. Pule Letshwiti-Jones will be catching up with you a little bit later on as those developments continue to unfold.